I'm up here in Belfast for a few days, relaxing, and just while the kids were off doing their shopping today, I'm really not one for shopping. So I went to confession this morning in Institute of Christ the King here in Belfast, which I try to whenever I come up here. Some people may be asking, oh God, you must be very bad if you need to go to confession. I just know it's kind of a Catholic tradition that us Catholics, we try to dig deeper into the spiritual life and try to, always be moving forward in our lives, because a great temptation in the spiritual life is to say, look, we're perfect. That why would we need to change? I'm fine the way I am. I don't need to do anything in my life. Sure, why would I need to confess sins or think that I've anything that's wrong with me, or blah 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 blah. And confession really challenges us as Catholics to really understand Christ better. Because the graces in the spiritual life come from being humble and trying to understand our Lord better. It's a concept that non-Catholics don't always get, but us Catholics, that's just our faith. That's the faith that we've had since the beginning of Christianity, really. Christ gave this power to his disciples, that whatever sins they forgave were forgiven, and it carries on today via apostolic succession, and every priest has this power. Anyway, I suppose a thought came to me. I don't think anybody out there really thinks, or I don't think anybody can say that they're not challenged by what comes after this life. What will happen to us when we die? When we're sitting lying in our deathbed, we take that last breath. What will be the next stage in our lives? Many ardent atheists will say, well, there's nothing after this world, and we just snuff out, and the electricity stops working in our brain, and we're gone. But on the off chance, me as a Catholic, on the off chance that, we do continue on as we believe, that as Christ said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and there are many rooms in my Father's house. On the off chance that Christ is right, that he did rise from the dead, which I do believe, and that he opened the doors to heaven for us, on the off chance that everything that he's told us is right, why not just take a chance on that message? Just take a chance. I always find it incredible if you ever see when there's a big lotto jackpot. There's 19 million here in the Irish Lotto, and big lotto jackpot, and millions of people will buy a ticket in the hope of winning it. So there's 5 million people in Ireland, and the chances of winning the Irish jackpot are 1 in 10 million or something like that. So very, 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 very slim, very, very slim. But on the off chance that I might win it, sure, look, I'll buy a ticket. And yet, as Catholics, we know what our faith is. We really do. We should be taught. We know what our faith is. And on the off chance, wouldn't we just say, look, sure, I might as well go to confession, and on the off chance that, that what the church is saying is true, that if you die in mortal sin, you go to hell. On the off chance that that is true, sure, I might as well just make sure my life is in order, and I'm prepared on the off chance that heaven does exist and that we go there in the end. So today, anyway, as I said, I just had a relaxing day. Today is a bank holiday down south, but up here everything is open. So I went around some of the second-hand bookstores, Linen Hall books, and a few other places, bought some books, spent a massive budget of about £20, and went to Institute of Christ the King. They have confession there, have a good confessor there. In the queue, there was a priest in front of me, and in the confession line, I was very edified by that. It's good to see priests taking care of their spiritual life as well. And afterwards, walking back to Victoria Shopping Centre, passed by St. Patrick's on Donegal Street. It was 1 o'clock and they were having Mass, so I stepped in for Mass. Beautiful church. There's a beautiful painting as you go in of Our Lady, and a cross which says Crux, Christi, Unica, Salus, which I believe it translates as the cross of Christ is our only salvation. Maybe somebody can just check that translation, but that's what I presume it says. Beautiful church. And then I walked to St. Mary's. It has a nice grotto of Our Lady. And when I walked into St. Mary's, there was a sign saying, and this has been there for a number of months, that confessions have been cancelled until further notice. I suppose it really hits me, in a sense, that the pastors in the church, the leadership in the church that make these decisions, do they really understand the message of the gospel and the power of the gospel and the reason of being of the church? What the church exists for only one purpose, is to bring us to heaven. When Christ came and he gave his gospel to his disciples and he left them, when he ascended to heaven and he left them, he didn't say, now you have the gospel, be comfortable, sit around Jerusalem and Galilee and drink and be merry and be happy and, gather your friends and commemorate me and just, live your lives there. He didn't. He said, go out to the world and spread this news. And he challenged them. And because it was such a powerful message that Christ left his disciples, the message that Christ gives us in the church is a message for eternity. It's not for this world. Christ's kingdom wasn't of this world. He wasn't a ruler of this world. He wasn't a political leader of this world. He wasn't one of the many philanthropists of this world. It could have been. He wasn't by all expectations. He was a nobody in the eyes of his time. In the sense that he wasn't some nobleman in the Roman Empire or something like that. He was just an ordinary person from Nazareth, and challenged the status quo of the day. But he gave a very compelling and powerful message. And if we think about it, if we meditate on this message, we'll understand how deeply powerful the message was. If you meditate on the resurrection of the resurrection of Lazarus, of bringing him back from the dead, that whole scene, what happened there, what people would have saw, their reaction to seeing him coming back from the dead, Lazarus come forth, opening the tomb, the smells, the whole. If you enter into that scene, you would understand what people saw in Christ, what they understood about him. This is the Christ, and we hear in St. John that gave his body, that people needed to chew on his body and drink his blood, which was inconceivable for the Jews. I mean, this is the man that rose from the dead. This is the man that ascended into heaven. This is the man that cured people, that cured the blind, had such a powerful impact on the people around him. The gospel was such an incredible thing. If we listen to the gospel, we can understand, okay, well, this is a message that was said how time and time again. I don't know if you ever remember, some people have very strong moments in their life, very strong experiences in their life. If you think about you know, somebody that's in one of these moments that are very, that emote very strong emotions in a person's life, a car accident or so forth, they remember every moment of it. You know, I was with a man this summer, and he was in a very bad accident, and he was left half paralyzed after the accident. And I said, "Do you remember the accident?" He said, "I remember every second of it." And he was able to tell me everything about this accident. He remembered how it happened. He remembered everything. He was awake for it, and he was able to recall that accident with all the details of it, because it was such an emotional moment for him. And this is where when we enter into the gospel, we see these many emotional moments really held tightly by the apostles, because, you know, these apostles would have told these stories time and time and time again. They had such a powerful impact in their lives. The raising of Lazarus was something that, you know, I mean, if anyone saw that, they would say, "God, this is something incredible here. What is going on?" And Christ ultimately, what is the central message of Christ's gospel? It is to say that I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Come to me, walk towards me, abide in me, follow me. You know, he came to give us a evangelion, this new message, this good news, this incredible story, this story of eternity. That's what Christ gave us, you know. And once you start meditating on this, it is life changing. It really is. If you sincerely want to enter into the mystery of Christ's message, it is life changing, and it requires us to change, and it requires us to, you know, to step outside our comfort zone and to think about it. So when I see messages like I saw in St. Mary's today here in Belfast, that confessions have been suspended until further notice, I ask myself, do those priests understand what faith is? Are they so afraid of losing their life that they're afraid to put themselves forward to give confession? Because you can give confession pretty safely. Are they, you know, I'm going to be a little bit controversial when I say this, because I said this back in the day. You know, I called priests out. Okay, you abandoned your mission. You abandoned your mission because you were afraid of dying. And people coming out, well, Robert, well, who are you to judge us, to say that you're not a priest? So why would you say we abandon our mission? It's all very well you, Robert, saying these things, but you don't know the circumstances we're living in, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, I understand. Fair point. You know, who am I to judge priests who have stepped away from their mission? Yeah, who am I to judge them? I'm nobody. But, you know, when I look at Saint Damien, who went and ministered to the lepers, and so many other saints, and so many other men who stepped forward, I'm saying, okay, where are these men stepped forward? They gave their lives for this mission because they understood that their mission was to bring souls to heaven and for them to go to heaven too. That is the mission of a priest. The priest has no other mission but to bring souls to heaven. And if they die in the process of bringing souls to heaven, you know, I mean, I'm not wishing them ill. I'm not wishing them that they die in this mission, but it's a battle. It's hard work. It's not easy, you know, and it does call to sacrifice. I think we're all called to it, because at the end of the day, us Catholics, we believe that that there is something greater than this world, that there is something greater than the drudgery of our current existence, which can be, you know, sometimes good, sometimes bad, depending. So, I just want to call priests back. I mean, I don't want to be unkind to them or anything like that, but I do question what is the mission of a priest. I'm a father of 3 kids. What is my mission? If somebody broke into my house, during the night, I wouldn't nudge my wife and say, "Hi, Kinga, could you just go down and see who broke in down there, please?" Or maybe wake Ellen up or Christopher and tell them to go down and to get rid of him, Or, or if the house is burning down Kinga, can you just hold on a second till I get out? And then could you run off and get the kids while, I don't think it's in our nature as parents and as a father, it's in our nature, it should be, to sacrifice our lives for to accomplish our mission as parents. A mother would always put her children first. A father should always put his family first. Once in the office, I said to a group of people, I said, do you think that the adage, women and children first, if the Titanic was sinking, do you think that adage, that message is valid today? And there was some discussion there, and I said, I don't care about women's lib and feminism and all that. I still believe that women and children come first, and that the mission of a man is to sacrifice his life for his wife, for his children, for his family. That's our mission. That's what we are called to do. So I can speak for my own when I say my mission is, you sacrifice yourself for the family. The mission of a priest is to sacrifice himself for the people of God, for the church. A priest is called to sacrifice. A priest is called to be there to give the sacraments, to promote the sacraments, to promote the fact that on the off chance that heaven does exist, that he has opened the door for as many souls as possible so that they can get to heaven. And around Ireland, over the last 18 months, I've seen some incredibly strong priests who said, "Hey, I'm not staying at home and quarantining here. I am fighting for the faith." There's this amazing priest in Longford. I won't mention his name. He's in his 80s, and he's been going strong the whole pandemic, meeting people, confessing, saying mass. Really, really strong. And I mean, this guy he smokes. He's not got the best of health, but he's got great faith. I mean, it's quite obvious. He's got great, great faith. And, I see in him this priest saying, "Well, I don't care what's going to happen. I've lived." He's there fighting for the faith that he loves. He wants to go out fighting, and thankfully, up to now he hasn't been sick at all, and keep praying for him. Where other priests, I have to ask, where are you guys? Where are you men? Are you men even to put up a sign saying confessions have been suspended until further notice? What type of men are you? What type of men are you? And as I said, there's ways and means of giving the sacrament of confession without passing infections around people and stuff like that. There are ways and means of doing this. But we wonder why men don't feel called to the priesthood anymore in Ireland, because we have converted it into such we've removed that fight from the priesthood. We have taken out that calling that men would have been attracted to of sacrifice. All men are called to fatherhood. We're all called to be fathers. If a man is not a father, if he's not in tune with that identity as a father, even though he mightn't actually have kids, you are called to be a father. Our identity, our whole identity as a man is to be a father. And priests seem to have forgotten that identity, because they're called to a spiritual fatherhood that's extremely important in the church and for, humanity. And that, if men were men today in Ireland, if men were men in the church and fought for their mission, A priest has an identity of being a leader, a father, a man that opens the channels of grace, confession, Eucharist. These are all powerful tools that the devil hates, obviously, because they draw us nearer to Christ. And the reason the church is in such a crisis in Ireland is because men, priests, bishops, have forgotten their mission as men, as fathers. It's sad, because no father would put up a sign like that. No father. If they really understood their mission, their identity as a father, as a spiritual father, if they understood their mission, their identity as a father, they would never have done what they did over the last year. Some of them. Others obviously have been exemplar. I suppose it takes, I'm speaking father to father here. I'm speaking man to man here to them. Us parents, some men do it. They run away from their families. They run away from responsibilities. They run away from what they should do. But most men, if they accept their responsibilities, stand by it. Stand by their responsibilities. And this is the same for priests. And yeah, you can dress it up with excuses all you like. Why this was done, why that was done. Yeah, we can invent excuses. Men that run away from their families, they also invent their own excuses. But it's not right, guys. It's not right. It's not right. We need to stand by the mission we're called to. Do we believe in the Catholic faith or do we not? Do Catholic priests believe in their mission as priests or do they not? Because if you did, you would schedule confessions daily in your churches. I'm really impressed by, I'm just saying, I'm impressed by, the Institute of Christ the King in Belfast that schedule daily confessions, Monday to Sunday, every single day. And people go. They set the time aside because that is their mission. That is what they're called to do. Mass, confession, being there to open the doors for Catholics to understand what grace is in their lives, because Christ, once he gets into a soul, if you humbly allow Christ into your life, he kind of doesn't really leave you where you were sitting before. He'll spin you forward and he'll drive you forward. He'll ask you to change. He'll ask you to do this. And sooner or later, the Holy Spirit is telling you, look, you just can't sit in your little comfort zone here. You need to get out. You need to understand. You found something powerful. It changes you. Now, guess what? You just can't keep that to yourself anymore. You need to show other people. And, I find it very, very uncomfortable for me to do this. I don't like doing it. But then I couldn't face Christ and say, well, look, at the end of my life, well, you just didn't do anything. You just sat back and you just thought that message was like, the gospel kind of really, really rings very loudly to me. You can't hide that light away. You have to give it to others. If it means so much to me, I have to challenge others to have a look at the same message and to see what they think. That's just my opinion on it. So, I suppose my call would be now to priests that manage St. Mary's in Belfast and to other priests around Ireland is understand what your mission is. Be men of mission. Understand what your mission is. I see this whole process of the synod. They're talking about mission and so forth. Well, I could challenge priests and bishops. Please go back to basics as regard your mission. What you were called to do is to open the doors to allow souls encounter the grace of Christ. Return to basics, guys. Be men of mission. Be men of the Eucharist. Be men who who open doors of grace to souls. You know, be good confessors, be good spiritual fathers. You know, dig into the faith that Christ is offering. You know, be experts in it. And sadly, guys, it's sometimes, you know, it's sad to see some badly formed priests in Ireland, and that, you know, sadly we've you know, bishops have a lot to answer for the way that they formed some priests, that the formation that they didn't give some priests in Ireland. It's badly lacking, and we need to return to some simple good formation in Ireland. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. You know, we just need good priests that have a passion for their mission. I think everybody, we all need to have a passion for what we do in life. We all need to be centered in something in life, because if we're not, we're just lost. We're just lost. You know, married men can be lost as well as priests. You know, we can be lost in ourselves. We're lost in our own world, lost in our addictions, lost in, you know, so many men, you know, lost in you know, men can be lost in pornography and so much other things that, you know, they lose all meaning in life. You know, this is why in this secular world, you know, there's a lot of secular people, a lot of secular men that have understood this, the problems of pornography. You even see it in diet now. They're promoting fasting. Who in the church? Guess what? In the Catholic Church, we were talking about fasting a long time before these diets and fads came into being. You know, in Irish, Wednesday and Friday have a connection to fasting. Their actual names. We were talking about fasting a long time ago, and when the society starts talking about the problems of pornography, well, the Catholic Church did say, you know, when you enter into this area, it kind of does mess your life up a little bit. We were kind of first there, you know. The Catholic Church, there's a lot of wisdom in the Catholic Church in their Catholic teachings that, you know, it's good if we pass that on, if we educate our kids about that. You know, sin, you know, in the church we believe that getting drunk is a sin, but it's also, you know, you're going against natural law by doing that. You know, naturally we're not called to get drunk. Naturally we're not called to destroy our liver, and nature will destroy us ultimately. You know, God will say, it's not like God is punishing us when we get drunk. We do it ourselves. We destroy ourselves. Once you go against nature, you destroy yourself. You know, men are not called to sit in front of a computer instead of living a loving relationship with their wife. That's not what we're called to do. And we know this. People know this. Society know this. But sadly, there's this great void of leadership, of mentorship in society and in the church today. And men don't see. We see why men are afraid, or don't feel inspired to follow priests in that mission, because there's a lack of leadership. There's a lack of spiritual fatherhood, of men who are warriors for the faith, who understand the faith, who are able to dig in and delve in and to pass it on to other people, and to make people passionate about it. You know, there's some there's many examples like that. But I suppose I just want to go back here to the fact. What men need to do is to be leaders. You know, you need to be fathers. You need to be spiritual fathers. That's what the church needs. You know, there are some great spiritual mothers out there in the church that, you know, have transformed the church. And, you know, my all favorite spiritual mother would be Mother Angelica. And, you know, she always called men to be who they're supposed to be. She was this powerhouse of the faith. I've been to her tomb twice. You know, she's a great inspiration to me. Saint Therese, Saint Teresa of Avila, Catherine of Siena, these women that really transformed the church. We need men to do the same. We need to learn, be who you're called to be it with passion, with truth. So if you're gonna, I suppose what I'm trying to get here, guys, is, and this message is really directed to priests, is, wake up, guys. Wake up. Really, wake up. What is your mission? What are you called to do? You're not called to be an NGO. You're not called to be a radio personality. You are called to spiritual fatherhood, sacrifice. If you're not sacrificing, you don't know what your mission is. The same as me as a parent. If I'm not sacrificing my interests and pushing the interests of my family, which I admit sometimes I don't do very well, but that is what I'm called to do. That's what I have to do. When I might want to go off on a holiday for 2 weeks and do stuff that I like to do, but what does my wife want to do? What do my kids want to do? What am I called to do? What is my mission? And as men, you're meant to sacrifice. You're meant to put others first, your family first. And if you're not doing that, you're not achieving your mission. And priests have to do the same. If they don't do the same, they're not happy, and you have a frustrated mission. You have a frustrated man, really. Well, what are you? Just that we've seen this instance of a priest around Ireland. I'm not naming names, but I actually looked at some of his talks. I thought, this is a great priest. He was really good. He was giving some good homilies. I was listening to some of his homilies, and in the evening he will go home and God knows what he was doing, making videos on TikTok, and I'm wondering, God, this guy, did he understand his mission? Did he really understand who he is called to be? A man of prayer, sacrifice. You have to dig in and understand your mission as a man, as a priest, as a father. I'm sure he's a very, very good priest, but it takes sacrifice, and you will never be happy unless you understand that. Anyway, so look, we need to pray for priests very much, but I suppose I'm calling them out to be men that understand their mission, because if you don't understand your mission, which is to bring souls to heaven, that is your only mission. A priest has no other mission other than to bring souls to heaven. End of story. That is it. Leave the climate activism to Greenpeace. Not that I have anything against the climate. Leave the climate activism to Greenpeace. Leave the NGOs to problems to the NGOs. Your mission is to bring souls to Christ. And if you're doing that, you'll solve a lot of other problems in society. If you're bringing a man to Christ, you're going to solve a lot of problems in marriages. Because this is a ripple effect. If you're bringing people to Christ to understand what the gospel is, you're going to solve a lot of the problems you're trying to solve. Because a man that lives in grace is not going to abandon his wife. A man that lives in grace is not going to abandon his kids. A man that lives in grace will have more tools to combat addictions. A man that lives in grace is going to be more centered. He's not going to be as depressed. The Christ's grace builds on us. He perfects us, and if we only worked on it, spiritual life is a process. You have to work on it. You have to keep going. You have to progress forward. If priests focused on their mission, they would solve a lot of problems in society. Men that are focused on their family tend to have kids most of the time that have less problems, and I can speak from a lot of experience here. I didn't have a great childhood, but I had Christ. Christ, when you have problems, sometimes he steps in. And if it wasn't for priests, I wouldn't be where I am today. That is the honest to God truth. There are some great men that have helped me along in life. Some really good mentors, some great priests, really, really great priests. I mean, I can think of St. John Paul II, really strong character, really strong man, really great example. But many priests, I wouldn't be where I am today without priests. And I mean, that's the simple truth. And, if it wasn't for them, if it wasn't for that strong leadership of men who understood their mission, I wouldn't be here. So I speak from experience here, guys. And so I'm calling out the priests in Ireland that have ran away from their mission. What are you doing? What are you doing, guys? Where are we going? We don't teach the faith. We don't put ourselves forward. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I'm there listening to the Bishop of O'Connery giving a talk to We Are Church about the synod, and I'm saying, hold on, guys. Are you so clueless of what is happening in the Irish Church? Are you so clueless that you would give that talk to We Are Church? Back to basics. Eucharist, confession. If you start in the basics, that really transform souls, you will transform the church. Souls are not going to hear the Holy Spirit if they don't live in grace. Bishop Dempsey. If you're not open to the Holy Spirit is not, you need souls to discern the Holy Spirit. You need good spiritual fathers to guide people. And that's the truth of it. So anyway, long video here. Just calling, just an interesting day. And I suppose I'm just leaving this down as a record and calling priests out. You have to be men. You have to be leaders. You have to be men of faith. And to show others the seriousness of our faith. We have to be serious here. Because on the off chance that heaven exists, it does, we should prepare souls for heaven. We shouldn't leave them eternally lost. There's a writer that I read, Valentin Tomberg. He was messed up in the New Age for many years, and he wrote a book about it. And he was very insistent on souls can be lost. And this is somebody that came from the New Age, and he understood it when he became a Catholic. He understood it very well, that souls can be lost. And he was pointing the finger towards the Catholic faith and saying, that is the true faith. And this is a man, he was a Russian, an incredible man. And he wrote a book at the end of his life anonymously. His Opus Magnum, and not an easy book to read, and it's written for the New Age, calling people out of the New Age. But he was very clear: souls can be lost. He talks about spiritual adultery, people running off to dabble in Buddhism and all this because it's all the same, and we're all going the same direction. And sure, you can, if you're born Catholic, sure, you can go off and be a Buddhist. And he calls it out. He says it's spiritual adultery. Souls can be lost, and it really impacted on me. So we have to take Christ's message seriously. It can be very beautiful, but it also can be very powerful. And we need to understand the power at play here, which is our eternity. Either we get there or we don't. So I'm calling priests out. Take down that sign there in St. Mary's about confession being suspended until further notice. Come on, men. Be spiritual fathers. Stand up. Be who you're called to be. There wouldn't be a vocational crisis if there wasn't a crisis of fatherhood in the priesthood in Ireland. We don't have men that are willing to stand up and be men. And what man would give his life to that? Because when you look around, see what's happening, what man is going to give his life to what we see in the church in Ireland today? Men who are afraid to be men. It's like The priesthood has been turned into a service of wimps. That's seemingly that's what happened. You know, if we were having a war last year during this pandemic, which we did, who's going to stand up and be on the front line here? And I don't want to generalize, because I know some priests were, but you know, priests should have been the first to stand up and say, my work is essential here. I'm not standing down. I'm staying put. I'm keeping my church open so that I can tend to my people socially distance in a safe way, but I'm not standing down. So come on, men, stand up. Take care. Bye-bye.